With fixed income yields trending lower, Nigeria's Debt Management Office resumed the issuance of 20-year bonds this quarter. To hear more about the reasons for the change in strategy, earlier I spoke to Patience Oniha, Director at the Debt Management Office at this week's Standard Bank Investor Conference in Lagos. Take a look.
We issued the 20-year bond first in 2008 as part of our strategy of raising long-term money for the government, because clearly if you're looking at infrastructure, you're talking about long-term fund. Okay, so that was one reason. But the other reason was really we wanted to extend the sovereign yield curve, which is a benchmark for commercial lending and for bonds. Okay, it was a gradual process we started. We stopped at 10 for a long time and decided in 2008 that the 20-year was good. And we continued to issue 20-year bonds up till 2010. Okay, given the reforms in the banking sector, which obviously, as we know, created some suspense, some caution, and again, monetary policy. Okay, so there was expansionary monetary policy at one point, and then suddenly it was restrictive for reasons which the central bank has clearly articulated in each case, you know, explaining why at some point it was expansionary and why at some point it was restrictive. Okay, as you know, liquidity and interest rates have a very strong and direct effect on bond prices. Okay, bond prices determine whether you're making profits or losses. Okay, so looking at the direction of interest rates and liquidity, we then thought we should slow down on the 20-year bond, because even if you offered it, subscribers may be inclined to bid very high because there was so much instability around or uncertainty in their own minds, and bid at a very high rate. And don't forget, our principal investors, at least up to some years back, meaning the holders of our bonds, up to about 60% were banks and discount houses, and they were the ones who had the direct effect of monetary policy actions and the banking sector reforms. So we then slowed down on the 20-year and stuck to the 10-year tenor as maximum that we issued. Okay, but the investor distribution has changed over the past few years. The pension funds have become significant. The insurance companies are also taking an interest. Okay, we know these two groups as institutions that have long-term funds. They have long-term liabilities which they need to match with long-term assets. Okay, so that's one reason. So we reintroduced it because there's clearly investor demand for it. Okay, and we appreciate all our major investor groups. We engage with them in discussions. So that's how come we know that. But we also felt that the markets had stabilized. There's clear direction in terms of monetary policy. And we've seen that our markets have also received some sort of recognition from two major banks. So in terms of stability, pricing, investor demand, we felt this was a good time to go back.
All right, so great time to price the 20 years. I think everyone will agree on that point. So can we anticipate that over the next few months, you will continue to issue 20 years as you continue to issue those bonds in your calendar?
I think that should be expected, because if you look at the auction result for February, which is the first time we offered the 20-year in a long time, you can see that in absolute terms, the subscription was higher than for the other two tenors that we offered. So clearly it means there's demand there. So from quarter two, it is possible that we would include, it is likely that we will include the 20-year bond. Don't forget, we already have the quarter out for the calendar out for quarter one, so we won't typically go to tamper with that, so we'll be looking at quarter two.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, let's talk a bit about the dollar-denominated bonds. Of course, the Euro bond. Yes. Nigeria has tested the waters in the past. There's been talk about us going back to the markets this year.
Yes.
Our yield now closer to 4%. It seems like a good time.
Yes.
So can you give us an update on that program? When are we likely to see Nigeria go back to the international capital markets?
Okay, I should say we started the process last year in terms of issuing another Eurobond. Again, part of it is in terms of our development needs. Okay, putting Nigeria out in the open, and I should say the first Eurobond has attracted a lot of foreign interest in the Nigerian market. So it wasn't just about Eurobond, it was also about the domestic market. Okay, so that was part of it, to attract capital into Nigeria. Okay, so we're going back this time to continue that process, okay, of issuing another Eurobond. But it also ties into our strategy of trying to achieve more diversification in our debt stock.